Hello, welcome back everyone to our weekly OCP test and validation meeting. So we have someone new for today, and as usual, we will start with introductions. So Brandon, why don't you tell us three things about yourself? Sorry, this was a joke we were having before the recording.
No worries. All right, so three things about myself. So I guess I'll start off with why I'm here. So I don't want to say I used to work on the kernel. I work on the kernel, but I'm kind of expanding my scope, trying to look at some other things. And right now I'm looking at some hardware validation stuff. This seemed like a pretty good place to start. I knew that we had some people in this meeting who were involved on some of these projects and stuff. I'm interested in OCP TV. It seems like that's something we want to make some progress on in the short term. I knew we had some Google people on the call, but I actually don't recognize the people who are here. So I think that that's probably a good sign. So I think that might count as two facts. I think I should probably share a fun fact that is not related to work. So I actually in 2020, right before COVID, like right before the COVID stuff, the lockdowns happened. I was in Australia and I was scuba diving with sharks. So
Very nice, very nice. Thanks for entertaining my stupid joke. So a quick, maybe a quick intro from our side. This project has a bit of a larger scope. We're working on multiple things in regards to test and validation. Maybe one of the more important ones is the output specification that is currently published and it is available. And this is meant to be like an interface between diagnostic packages and executors. So when you think about a diagnostic package, a simple example could be like a stress app test or FIO, something on top of FIO, right? And this can present different types of measurements. It can make determinations for the health of the device, for example, or whatever you're testing. So there's a bunch of messages that are in the spec as available to be used as output. I can post a link in the chat here with the repo if you want to look at it later on. I see Karen posted the meeting notes doc. If you want access to that, let me know and I'll click the button. And there's a bunch of other things like we are maintaining some diagnostics. Everything is open source, and this is one of the main tenets. Like we want to share the work between the companies, between all of the people involved here, and there's another work stream on certification suits. We haven't had a lot of discussion on that one yet, but the main idea there is to maybe develop some combination of diagnostics so that manufacturer or vendor or vendors can directly use that to provide evidence that their hardware is working as expected. So then we kind of reduce, for example, the MPI work inside the consumers.
Okay.
All right,
sounds
so
like I'm in the right place.
Yeah, that's a very short intro. Like it's a lot of scope. In the meantime, I guess we can start with the status. I don't think there's anything on the agenda specifically for today. So I'll name a couple of names, and if there's updates, please go ahead and share. Maybe Young, Do you have anything you want to share on virtual client?
Yes. So I just been working with Sergey from Google, and I just got him set up with Docker builds of virtual client, and I think he's been using it okay. Didn't hear other things from him. And other than that, we just been onboarding workloads as usual. There's changes to probably 4 or 5 workloads on the GitHub.
Very nice. Thanks for the update. Maybe a quick question for you as well. I don't know if you know anything about the CTAM project though, because I haven't seen Bhushan or Rajat on the call in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. We're not in the same team.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to get in contact with them. I know so Satish and Hua are on the call. I know the current status with the PCI LMT tool is that we need to have that meeting to discuss the final form of the output. That hasn't happened yet. If you wanna share anything about updates, I see you unmuted, Satish. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Adrian. Yes, I think I had 3 time slots and Hua picked up the Friday one, but I'm not sure if that works with your time zone, especially with your furnitures being moved away. So yeah, let us know. Feel free, we can move around things if you want. Like maybe next week is fine as well. Now for me, it's like Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Anytime these 3 days afternoons works best. Hey, Hua.
Hey, so yeah, for me, this Thursday, Friday is best. Next Tuesday, I'll be flying to Hawaii. So
Nice. Let's meet there then.
yeah. On my end, I post my tool LMT tool on GitHub when I got all the approval and stuff. No, so yeah,
Nice.
but I didn't post any OCP related stuff on there because we haven't had this meeting discussion yet. So it's just a bare standalone lane margining tool. It's on GitHub now. Yeah.
Awesome. So in that case, probably we can start by floating around the proposals. I mean, we probably can meet. That's better, but I think we can get started with what are you think in your mind? Like, what is the right way for the tool? And then we can merge it, because we've been talking back and forth, but I think we need to put it in a paper and start looking at it.
Yeah, I think we still should continue with the email thread. Like there's email thread. Yeah, we should go back to that. Yeah, I don't think everything is resolved on that. Yeah.
I see. What do you think, Adrian?
So this Friday, I wouldn't be able to take a call later. I can probably do next week though if Hua is leaving on Tuesday. Then
no,
we
if I
don't
may
have
propose, like yeah, so probably if you're still available this Friday, may not be like 1.5 hours, probably like 30 minutes or 45 minutes. We both can quickly sync up and we come up with a draft, and then we can put it around with Adrian and then take a look next week. Would that work, Adrian?
All right. So my suggestion then, if it's for this Friday for a half hour, there's the GitHub discussion where we have some material there already, right?
Right.
So maybe put in a proposal as a comment there, and in the half hour we can just discuss some details, because it's not going to be a lot of time.
Okay. So you want us to like draft a comment in the GitHub before the discussion?
Yes.
Or
yes.
the discussion?
Yes, before the discussion.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. In that case, I will go ahead and propose what would work for the current tool, and then Hua can respond, and then we can continue the conversation when we meet.
So Yeah, so I think the most useful format would be an
Mhm.
example
Yeah.
with the relevant messages, right? It doesn't have to
Yes,
come
yes.
from a binary
Correct.
process to run, right? But
Mhm.
crafted an example with just a couple of messages to show exactly what we're talking. Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah. Mhm.
Sorry, my connection dropped for a little bit. I missed something. So what's are you gonna meet Friday? Just for a
Yeah,
little bit,
we're
Satish?
we're
Okay,
gonna meet on Friday, probably around 2 p.m. PST.
okay,
And
sounds good.
before that, I will go ahead and like summarize and probably get a sample out format with in the current whatever I think is the best for the current tool, and then I'll just put it on the GitHub as a comment, and then we can
Okay.
look at it. And if you have time, you can also comment before the meeting. But let's meet around 2 to 2:30 p.m. on
All
Friday.
right, sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, Satish and Juan. Venkat, do we have any updates on the SSD diags? Anything else you might want to share?
Yeah, so on the SSD, the AutoVal DAG is tentatively scheduled for end of March. I think that's the new deadline. And the other one, the HDD plus SSD, I think that should also be around like mid-March, like the test drive. So both of them should be coming online in the next month. So
Okay, got it. Thanks for the update. And Igor, last time we had this discussion on the Rust implementation for the API. I think I was saying we may want Venkat's opinion as well because he was interested in the Rust API for some diags that are happening. Not sure I can go into details about the diag specifically, but they would be using Rust. Just to start this discussion a bit, if you have any update on that, Venkat, or anything you want to share for today, maybe we can start with that, and then I'll leave Venkat a couple of minutes to explain our use case for that.
yeah, actually, Giovanni's on the call. He's actually going to be working on that part of the diag. So yeah, this is basically a Rust native diag that we're writing. And Giovanni, do you want to explain more?
So, sorry. Yeah, anyway, sorry. The idea there is that, yes, we are trying to create a library for Rust for putting in OCP format. And we are currently using tracing for framework for writing that library. And yeah, so the idea is to build that one and see how it's working. And if it's working fine, it's something that we could share with the all folks here. But yeah, before sharing it, just would like to be sure that it's working and it's doing its job in a nice way. And then, yes, we could share and start to work together on that because for sure it could need some improvements on that side.
Okay. So Igor, you had a question on whether this would, if there's more people interested in this, how does this sound to you? Like what was just said?
So wait, I have a question to Giovanni. Are you already trying to implement OCP format reporting in Rust?
Yep.
Okay, so there is already work that is being done. Then maybe we just wait till you finish and share it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because-
For me, it's fine. I'm actually working on that. And so when I finish, I could share it and I will be very happy to get your contribution on that. And yeah, let's work on that together for sure. I'm just starting to do that because we need it. And so I need a library to work with that.
I see, I
So
see.
I'll interject for a second to try to disambiguate this discussion. So last time Igor had a presentation and the documents that I just posted in the chat, Giovanni, and Igor was proposing on working on a library to output the OCP spec in Rust. So like an equivalent for the Python one, but Rust native.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Igor, I didn't know about that.
I mean, it's all right. You have already started, so.
We can collaborate just fine, even if Giovanni has already started
No,
on this.
exactly. Just so Igor, let's get in touch offline, and we could find a way to collaborate together, because I'm really happy if you could help me on that. So
Sure.
let's
It's
find
just that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, let's just find a way to collaborate together offline, and I'm pretty happy about that.
Right. I still probably need to convince my management to allocate resources for this. So that's another problem.
Okay. So I will start to share with you what I am doing, and then again we could work on that. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. So what I'll do then is start an email thread with both of you, and maybe Venkat as well, and you can continue the discussion there.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Karen.
I sort of wanted to know, like, what is the motivating factor to start developing native Rust DAGs here?
Starting develop, sorry.
Specifically here. I wanted to understand the motivation for native Rust DAGs.
Well, because it's more simple for us to implementing it in our workflow, and this is why we chose to go down that route instead of using the C++ binding.
Like, is there specific Rust language capabilities which benefits you, or is it that the rest of your system is built around Rust, so it's a natural fit?
It's more it's more like having something that it's already native in Rust, and it's more simple to fit inside our tools.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
So if this is the case, then it will be hard for me to convince my management, because we do not have such infrastructure at Google, right? We probably need something more than that for Google to
wait
collaborate.
a moment, Igor, sorry. So I am not a proficient developer in Rust. So this means that I am started to do this stuff, but it could be that it could benefit from some native implementation in Rust for something, from some functionalities that Rust has, and that could be useful for this. So let's talk about that, and probably we could find a better justification than what I just said at the moment.
I see. That sounds good.
Okay.
I can. I see you, Venkat. I can help with the Rust reviews as well. I have some reasonable experience in that already.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Venkat.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add, right, like, so the business justification, apart from the code base, I think, Igor, last time we discussed, I think Rust lends itself to like a lot of benchmarks use case, writing like same as C++, I guess, but yeah, with the memory safety kind of into. So that is, I think, probably something you can kind of justify apart from like the code base and yeah, the advantage of having native Rust. Yeah. So for benchmarks, I think there's a strong use case to build it in Rust.
So I'll add one more thing to this discussion, and I have another topic after this. One of the questions that remains is if we publish another API, in this case Rust, which is again another possible point of divergence versus the existing APIs. We need a good maintainability model for it. So we're gonna need to discuss exactly on the open source side who is gonna, I don't know, do PRs and look after that repository. It's not necessarily a question for right now, but something to keep in mind. Okay, so my next question or discussion topic rather was the last time this idea of composing diags in a particular format came up again, and Giovanni, you weren't on the call back then. I'm gonna have to interrupt Karen a bit from the typing to get your opinion on this discussion.
This was bad idea. No, it's fine.
No. I got what you're doing there. It's okay. Thanks for the notes, Karen. In any case, so the point is, we need. I guess we need to know if we're gonna continue on this topic, because there's a couple of unknowns. More specifically, maybe if I were to say the point where we get into executor territory versus diagnostic territory. One of the questions was that came last time was, okay, we're running, I think it was Marcos, who was explaining that they are running the workloads, but in parallel, the executor is looking at some monitoring to see if the CPUs are overheating. If I remember correctly, it was something related to the set diag. And another question is, if there were to be this format of specifying how the diags and monitors are composed, how would the data transfer between the various steps occur? So these are like two questions right now, if you want to address any of them, Giovanni.
Okay, so no, I could not address any of them simply because the what I proposed was to understand if there is some interest around that before going deeper in the design of that. Because as a lot of people highlighted the other time, it could be a huge design for a spec. And before going down into that thing, I would like to be sure that there is interest around that instead of wasting everybody time, because we are just starting and then we just discovered that we are not interested in that and we could just throw it away. So if there are interest and it's not overlapping with what Microsoft is doing, I'm pretty happy to start a more deep analysis of that and eventually starting to reply to different questions. If there is no interest in that, is just an internal need, well, we will just satisfy the internal need and that's done. I mean, it's not,
I see. Okay, so we have Yang on the call, so he can reply to this directly. Could you explain? Let me phrase the question in a more proper way. Could you explain a bit the way you specify a test in terms of workloads and monitors and everything?
So we in virtual client, there's the concept of profile, which is basically configuration. And what profile means is just you have three components: actions, which are workloads; monitors, that are monitors; and then dependencies, that are installations, compilations, etc. But when you run a VC command, dependency shall run first to install your packages git clone or compile. And then monitors are run immediately after dependencies, and then you run actions. So we run workloads and monitors at the same time. And how we make this useful is then by looking at the data coming out, right? We make charts or we use summary based off the data, and also we do profiling on both Windows and Linux, so we can profile exactly the beginning and between the beginning and end of our work process. So we analyze that. So that's how we define it. Is that a question? I can also show the profile.
Yeah, maybe that would be useful. So what I'm trying to get at here is how much this aligns with what Giovanni was thinking of, and if there's a high degree of alignment, maybe we should just continue this kind of development or spec on the virtual client bit. Does that make sense, Giovanni?
Yep, it makes sense.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah, but the font could be a bit larger.
Oh, okay. How do you increase the font here?
Control plus should work in VS Code.
Okay. So we can take you to the open source profiles. Not we have like monitor profiles, like for GPUs you have or for AMD you have AMD SMI and list PCI. For NVIDIA you have the NVIDIA SMI. You can also upload files or other things. There's a bunch of monitors in the repo, and then you have the workload profiles, which are install packages and then run it, etc. Or install and compile and then run it. You can on the command line provide two profiles. So you can say I want to run LAPACK and then I want to run monitors default, which is basically performance monitor. And then these will merge them and we'll run both workload and monitor at the same time. Or you can just copy paste this monitor and paste it beneath, here at a monitor section, and BC will also run action and monitor at the same time. This is just how we define it, and how we make it useful is just like looking at the data coming out of it. Giovanni,
Yeah, sorry, but this is something that is happening during the test, these monitors, right? So I mean,
Yes.
you're in the test and you are monitor what is happening.
Yes.
What about setting up the environment for the test? That where I would like to go. So I would like to go to a place where we have a structure that is defining how to setting up the environment for running the test and which are the exact step that we have to run for running the test and the parameters of that.
So you might be talking about dependencies.
Okay.
So for this Apache bench, we need Apache 2 and then Synzip. So these are Linux pack installations. We see this is just on apt. So on apt we do this, but there's other workload where we support on more package manager, FIO. Yes, so we support apt, ENF, and yum and zipper. So you can define things like this, and if they are the same name, just unfortunately for libiO, it's called libiO 1 in apt, libiO in DNF, and libiO 1 again in zipper. So that's why you have to define this way. But otherwise, you just need to say packages and libiO, and you will figure out which distro you are on and use the appropriate package manager. Format your disk and install FIO binaries. And we also have like compilers installation, Java installation, Python installation, etc. for different
Okay,
things.
okay, no, that's cool. So let me have a look at that offline, and so next time I could come back to the folks here.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah.
If you need a link to this, Giovanni, let me know.
I'll send the link. It's,
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
any other questions worth of sharing?
No, that's fine. I will have a look offline just to get a broader idea of all the different specs here.
Okay. Yeah, and you can also, I'll also send my email, so you can email me directly.
Good. Thank you so much.
I have a quick question, Young. In this structure, is there any dependencies between the workloads and the monitors, or are they completely disjoint?
So they are definitely related, but the VC core, like the core executor, does not know anything about anything inside. So what VC does is runs all the dependencies. There's a method called execute async. VC does not know anything about it, and then it's on the, like, you as an author, you need to make sure you install Java before you run SpecJDB, something like that. So if you change the order and things doesn't work, you need to make sure you put the dependency you need for workflow.
No. So let me try to qualify that a bit more. So what I'm thinking is, if, for example, you had a workload that was producing OCP TV output, so you were seeing measurements out of that, could you have a monitor with a bit of a loose definition of monitor that can take the output of those measurements, so the output of the workload, and look at those measurements, and then maybe make a determination or enhance them with something else, as I think of the term monitor.
Okay, so I assume it's a parser that constantly looks at the workload output.
Yeah, so parsing is maybe part of the picture, yeah, because you essentially would need to parse that JSON output.
Oh, okay.
But the question was whether there is a possibility of a data pipeline between the workloads and other stuff down the line, like a monitor or some sort of other determinator.
Okay. I guess depending on what you want to do at Microsoft, we do A/B testing on hardware, like on firmware. So before deployments, we will run workloads that we chose, and then if the A/B test shows, for example, more than 5% regression with more than 95% confidence, we automatically block static deployments on our portals. So we have maybe the term monitors or dashboards that's monitoring all the data, if that's what you are thinking.
Okay, I think I understand enough of that question. Thanks for the answer.
Yeah, we prioritize A/B testing, not the absolute value, but you can definitely put monitors or gates or webhooks on the absolute value as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, I'll go into more detail maybe with Giovanni after he has a look at it. I think the first hand up was Kieran.
Yeah, I was a little confused in terms of what is the monitor we are talking about. At least from my understanding and what we were discussing, it's something which we are running in parallel to monitor the state of the system. But I think, Adrian, what you mentioned was monitoring the output. So these are two different things. Are we monitoring something in parallel to what is going on, or are we consuming the output of one of the diags, because one of them is more like data processing pipeline, the other is more of diags, composable diags, and at least that's the way I look at it.
Right. So correct me if I'm wrong, Young. I think the monitoring that you're specifying here is just looking at the system in parallel as the workload is running. My question was guiding more towards the aspect of composability, because I kind of understand what Giovanni wants to do as well. So I'm trying to figure out what is the common ground between VC and what Giovanni is discussing.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Kevin. I got confused at first too. I thought it was monitors on each local machine. And Adrian, when I talk about the monitors, that's monitored the output. That part was not in the VC code base. It's like in other data pipeline.
Venkat?
Yeah, so quick question. And so the monitor is basically a sideband way of failing a test, right? Basically, as I understand it. So you could terminate a test based on, like I see LSPCI and SMI counters apart from the actual test pass fail. So it's like an early stop. Is that correct? Like,
Yeah, depending what you want to build. So we send all the data to like a Microsoft database, right? And then you can have your criteria, whether it's, there's a PCIe error or some metrics looks wrong. You can define the criteria.
got it. So two more questions. So then you're saying you send it to a database. So the monitor telemetry data, so to speak, is not part of the measurement series, or it's not part of the OCP diag output, right? You're keeping that as a sideband entirely.
Yes, no, you're right. So it was like a CSV that we sent to our database. The OCP database output is something we added, not the original.
Got it. And final question is, so how do you like, are there any intrusive kind of monitoring, right? Like, so I would think like if you have like NVMe smart data and you're running workload, do you kind of handle those, or all of these monitors are strictly kind of not intrusive, right? Like, so do you like sig pause your workload or something? I'm just kind of curious.
Sorry. Let me repeat. You said, how do we sync and pause monitors? Is that what
I
you
mean, do you ever have to like pause your workload and stuff? Are you concerned at all about like the monitoring kind of impacting the workloads pass fail or the scores, like especially?
Oh, yes. So we do, but you can turn it off. On the command, I just say monitors none, and then you will not do anything, so you can get the optimal score. But generally, we're doing A/B testing, so we're doing monitoring on both sides. And on more than cloud systems, the monitors are like most of the monitors are minimal. They have minimal impact on the workload itself. And if some people want to benchmark the like 100% of system, they can just turn monitors off.
Thanks.
Okay, so we have another 15 minutes. If anyone wants to raise anything up for today. Any other questions based on what we've discussed? Go ahead, Igor.
Yeah, so about composing diags, maybe some people weren't present last time, so I made a section in my document about RAS diags that explains how we could compose RAS diags. So the idea is that we need to provide some sort of API from diags so that some external code that depends on them can, control how diags are run and get results, as opposed to just streaming OCP TV output. Because with OCP TV output, we just observe what's happening instead of running certain steps in a loop and so on and so forth. So maybe if we want to compose DAGs in the OCP infrastructure, we probably should think about how to define this API for controlling DAGs. So what do you guys think? That is, right now we don't have API. We just run DAGs as if they're programs, software packages. They just output whatever they derive from testing hardware, right? But maybe we can provide some mechanism for controlling them, such as stopping them, for example. As we discussed, we may want to run some load, right? Oh, not load, but stress test, and then monitor sensors. And stress test is run for a certain time, right? And then we want to interrupt it. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about API.
So maybe I'll start with a question. When you are referring to this API, it's at least as far as I can tell, it's a bit difficult to say where this gets into executor land and responsibilities, because it does make sense that you would want to run a stress test with a particular schedule. I'm stressing on the term schedule because you want to observe some effects based on that schedule. But it's I think it's kind of difficult to draw a line between schedule for the purpose of observing effects versus schedule for the purpose of executing DAGs and scheduling them as a whole, if that makes sense.
So you're saying that these are two completely different use cases, observing a DAG and controlling a DAG? Or did I wrong?
Yeah, at least in terms of the semantics, right? Because at the end of the day, if you say, okay, I want the workload to pause now for X amount of time, you can interpret that as being the executor and saying, okay, this DAG, which happens to be a workload, pauses now or is stopped because I got what I wanted from it. Or if it fits into the semantic of this pause is part of the test, as in I want to observe the effects of this pause as it is seen by the device under test.
I'm not sure if I'm following. So you're saying there is a case when the DAG itself needs to stop because it's a part of its schedule. Is it right? Or
yeah, so let me try to give you an example. So your idea in the Rust doc is that instead of having like an external definition file, maybe like a JSON or something, which says, okay, this workload runs and this is like the monitor that looks at specific metrics of the system. Instead of having that in an external format, you have it encoded in Rust code, essentially, because you compile all of those units into a single blob, which contains everything you need by virtue of the dependencies coming in as crates. Right. So the question is, at what point do you draw the line between this scheduling of maybe a workload that is observed by a monitor? Well, the system is observed by the monitor, but the workload affects the system. At what point do you draw the line between this scheduling being part of the test So for example, you exercise the CPU for 5 minutes, and then you take a pause for 5 minutes, and then you exercise it again for 5 minutes. At what point is this part of the diagnostic package itself, or is this a responsibility of the executor, which is the higher layer that is supposed to execute your diagnostics against the DUT?
Oh, I see what you mean now. I was thinking about not letting the diag library itself control anything. It just provides API. But then you can have a crate, binary crate, that is a part of the diag that would have some, default schedule, right? Plus, if you include this library crate into a bigger diag to compose multiple diags into a single one, right? Then you can also add additional schedule based on your use case.
I see. Okay, so based on what you just said with like this additional entity crate, which does the scheduling, that sounds to be like an equivalent semantic to what Giovanni was talking about on the orchestration bit of the workloads and monitors and all of that. So if you can have this crate whose job is exclusively to do the scheduling, then you can, in my mind, you can extract the data bits from it, which essentially specify the scheduling, into an external format that you can standardize.
Sorry, I didn't get it. You're saying if we have a scheduling logic as a separate crate? Well, I meant not like a completely separate crate, but a crate that is a part of the package with the diag, right? So a package includes diag's library with API calls plus some scheduling logic as a binary.
Yeah, you compile it in, right?
Right. Plus, if you have a different use case, then you call this API from an external diag, the bigger one, to control it the way you need.
Okay, so there is still an external entity which you're not specifying here. Like it could be a diag, or maybe it could be an executor that just exercises that API. Is that correct?
Exactly. So you have flexibility on how to control this diag. You have a default controlling logic. Similarly, like with memtester, for example, we just run it. This is the default control logic, right? But maybe you want to run it continuously and test it overnight, for example. Then you would use the API to control it.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop it there, because otherwise we're going down this rabbit hole and everyone is gonna get bored very quickly. I think maybe we can continue this discussion on the email thread with Giovanni, and I think I'll add Marcos as well, because what I was trying to explain just now was what Marcos presented as their use case last time with the SAT diag.
Is this an email thread or a GitHub discussion?
I don't think we have anything right now. I can start an email thread.
What if we start a GitHub discussion, by the way, so that other folks can join?
Yeah, I mean that's ideal, but I thought initially an email thread would be like the minimal audience. If you want to take an action to start a GitHub discussion, that's perfectly fine.
Sorry, guys. Before moving to the GitHub discussion, because I really like what Igor was saying, and essentially it's an extension of what probably I proposed, that it is an extension of what Microsoft already implemented. So if we could, before moving to a GitHub discussion, if we could draft a really brief design about that, so that when we are moving to the GitHub discussion, everyone else that would like to join could have a better understanding of what we are talking about, instead of like being there and working for.
No, but that's the GitHub discussion. That's what it's for, to propose that design.
Oh, okay, cool, okay.
Right. So Igor, do you wanna take an action item on that, or do you want me to start and send it through email to like a couple of people? The point is we don't really have a good discoverability mechanism for these GitHub discussions. So I can either highlight it here in the call or send an email or on the Slack. I don't know.
Yeah, I can start the discussion, but let's just summarize what we need in that discussion. What do we want to discuss? Composability of diags or Rust diags? Because we sort of mixed these things up, right? So what is the specific topic?
So on the Rust diags,
Rust diag.
there is. Let me try to clarify this. So on the topic of Rust diags, there is already an action item from last week to start the discussion. So that is technically already handled, although it hasn't happened yet. And this one was on composability, maybe. So it's two of them.
Two of them. Okay, I will start at least Rust diags, and since well, yeah, we will see.
Could I also get attached to the composability of diags discussion? I'm guessing there probably won't be enough overlap, but there's some. I feel like there's potential overlap with some discussions we had about parameterized testing in the Linux kernel. So
sure,
if I could just be attached to that discussion, I'd appreciate it.
So I have your email from the status doc. I'll send you an email with the discussion when it happens. As I was saying, we don't have a good mechanism to discover those right now. Okay, cool.
Good. I appreciate it.
No worries. So we are kind of on time. 1 more minute left. So I'll thank everyone for joining today, and we'll see everyone next week. Thank you. Bye.